the 5 types of imposter syndrome. Based on the work of Dr. Valerie Young, we're going to explore some student case studies. Each of these students will display some characteristics that align with the 5 types of imposter syndrome outlined in the previous video. For each of the students, read the information on the slide and decide which type of imposter they align to. Let's start with Yasmin. Yasmin doesn't like to ask her tutor for help if she's struggling with her work. She does not understand how to use all the equipment in the labs at university and has spent a lot of time looking up this independently rather than speaking to the technicians. Do you think that Yasmin is an expert, a soloist, a natural genius, a perfectionist, or a superhero? You can pause whilst you read this slide and press play when you're ready to continue. Yasmin is a soloist. A soloist would feel that asking for help is revealing their weakness. They prefer to work alone, and they sometimes don't consider their own learning needs. Now let's look at Isabella. Isabella does not like leaving work to others. She would prefer to do it herself so that it is right. She gets a bit frustrated when delegating work. She spends a long time on coursework to make sure it is faultless before it is submitted. She often feels dissatisfied when she gets marks back, even if they are high. Do you think that Isabella is an expert, a soloist, a natural genius, a perfectionist, or a superhero? Again, press pause whilst you consider this, and press play when you're ready to continue. Isabella is a perfectionist. Perfectionists set excessively high goals for themselves. If they do not reach their goals, their self-esteem can plummet and self-doubt can start to appear. This is Toby. He has always got good grades in school. He is known as the smart one in his weekly seminar group. He is sometimes reluctant to take part in games or activities that he is not great at. If he faces a challenge at university, Toby can sometimes feel ashamed and his confidence falls. Again, consider if Toby is an expert, soloist, natural genius, perfectionist, or superhero. Press pause whilst you consider this and press play when you're ready to continue. Toby is a natural genius. Natural geniuses are similar to perfectionists, but they don't just judge themselves against their own high standards, but also on getting things right straight away. They often feel pressure to use their knowledge to fix any problem. And next we have Lex. Lex really wanted to edit the student newspaper, but felt they did not have all the requirements, so they did not apply. Lex feels slightly panicked when their peers calls them an expert about something. Lex worries they will be exposed as unknowledgeable, a fraud during discussions, so often stays quiet. Lex does not feel they are qualified enough to discuss certain topics, so instead they stay quiet during discussions. Consider if Lex is an expert, soloist, natural genius, perfectionist, or superhero. Again, press pause whilst you consider this, and press play when you're ready to continue. Lex is an expert. Experts measure their own competence on how much they know. Experts feel like they will be exposed as not knowing enough. Experts will often feel like they do not know enough, even if they have been studying or been in a job role for some time. Finally, we have Mina. Mina worries that everyone else on her course knows much more about her subject, which is economics. She sometimes feels that she doesn't deserve a place on her course. She often completes extra work and works late. She has given up on her hobby of netball to focus more on study. She feels there is so much to do. Consider if Mina is an expert, a soloist, a natural genius, a perfectionist, or a superhero. Press pause whilst you consider this and press play when you're ready to continue. Mina is a superhero, trying to save the world, alone and without a sidekick. Superheroes will often work for longer or later than peers or colleagues. They are addicted to the validation they get from working hard. They often feel stressed when they are not working or feel that time to relax is a waste of time. Now it's time for you to stop and reflect. Think about the previous video and think about the types of imposter you've identified in the case studies. Do you identify strongly with certain categories? If so, which are these? You might have found that you identify with more than one type, and some of these characteristics overlap. Despite the specific profile, this again demonstrates how common these experiences are, and in particular in areas of work or study, where there is a temptation to compare yourself to others. Later in this topic, we'll explore some tools and strategies that you can use to help you overcome these feelings.